Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preet Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Pakistan heads for a hung National Assembly. Both ex-Prime Ministers Imran Khan and Nawaz Sharif claim poll win. US, UK, EU urge probe into elections, express concern. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel developing dual plan to evacuate Rafah civilians and defeat Hamas. UN says do not want forced displacement. Cocoa market in panic as prices hit record for 9th straight day. El Nino and climate change in the world's main producing countries in West Africa affect their harvest. And in football, AFC Asian Cup is set to conclude with an all-Arab final. Hosts Qatar look to defeat their title against giant killers Jordan. Pakistan faces days of political horse trading after election results released early on Saturday showed no clear majority, with independent candidates mostly backed by jailed ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan's PTI winning 92 seats and no party securing a majority. Pakistan seemed poised for a hung parliament. To form a government, 133 seats in the National Assembly are needed. Leaving no stone unturned is also the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who has urged all parties to form a unity government to stabilize Pakistan.
हमें जो मैंडेट मिला है जरूरी है कि दूसरी पार्टियां बैठकर मिलकर एक हुकूमत कायम करें और पाकिस्तान को इस भंवर से निकालें.
Shifting focus, Israeli military is coming out with a plan that would not only defeat Hamas but would also help in evacuating civilians in Gaza. In the last 4 months, more than 1 million people who were driven southwards are packed into Rafah and surrounding areas in southern Gaza, which borders with Egypt. Even Egypt has reinforced the frontier, fearing an exodus. Due to presence of civilians in Rafah, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says its goal of eliminating the Hamas terrorists could not be achieved. Now, security establishment in Israel is asked to submit to the cabinet a combined plan for evacuating the population and destroying the battalions. The United Nations said Palestinian civilians in Rafah needed to be protected, but there should not be any forced mass displacement, which it said went against international law. News from Russia-Ukraine conflict now. A Russian drone strike hit Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv late night on Friday. A fire broke out at a petrol station due to the strike that also damaged civilian infrastructure. As per the local officials, at least one person was injured in the incident and the toll is likely to increase. Amidst the conflict, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met with US President Joe Biden on Friday. Scholz on Friday showed his support towards Biden's efforts to secure additional aid for Ukraine. He also urged the US Congress for the approval. Both the leaders also discussed the ongoing situation in West Asia. Biden, who said that not helping Ukraine is outrageous, thanked Scholz for his leadership and bravery in the Ukraine crisis. The White House has sounded warnings for months that a failure by lawmakers to provide aid to Kyiv could be devastating.
It is now necessary for all states in Europe to gather their strength in order to mobilize even more support in terms of weapons and ammunition. Germany has initiated its contribution with a decision for this year's budget and many commitment authorizations in the coming years. The US is discussing further aid. The president is very clear and we are in agreement. If a decision cannot be reached in the US Congress to release the funds for further support for Ukraine, then this will be a threat to Ukraine's ability to defend its own country. That is why we are both firmly convinced that this must happen now. But we are also confident that the US Congress will ultimately make such a decision.
A bipartisan delegation of U.S. Congress members called on Ukraine's president in Kyiv on Friday. The U.S. delegation vowed to do their part to get crucial stalled military aid legislation through the House of Representatives. The U.S. has been Ukraine's largest supplier of military assistance, but that help is now on hold while Congress wrangles over a bill providing aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Former U.S. President Donald Trump secured a landslide victory in the Nevada Republican Party's caucus, claiming 99% of the vote and all of the state's delegates. Now, this win further solidifies his lead in the race for the presidential nominee, with his closest competitor, Nikki Haley, not even present on the ballot. The significant triumph reflects Trump's dominance within the party. DD India's correspondent Benji Haya gets us more details.
Look, whilst Nevada will be hotly contested in the November presidential election, this result was a foregone conclusion. The only other person facing off against Donald Trump was Pastor Ryan Binkley, Trump's closest serious challenger. Former United Nations ambassador and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley had opted not to take part in the Nevada caucus, claiming it had been rigged for Trump. She appeared in the primary vote earlier this week instead, amid a dispute between the political parties in the state. But she lost in that primary anyway, embarrassingly beaten by the none of these candidates option. Pledging to prevent what she calls a coronation, Haley's vowed to continue competing, despite coming second to Trump in votes in Iowa and New Hampshire, outcomes which set him on course to becoming the Republican Party's presumptive nominee for the presidency. Her last shot at turning things around comes next month in South Carolina, in her home state's primary, where again Trump leads in the polls. The embattled former president still remains the favourite to take on Democrat incumbent Joe Biden for the White House, even as Mr. Trump faces multiple criminal trials for his alleged mishandling of classified documents and attempts to overturn the 2020 election. He's pleaded not guilty to all charges, framing his prosecutions as political persecution by his opponents. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Protests in Senegal continued on Friday as thousands opposed the postponement of the presidential election. In the capital, Dakar, thousands opposing the delay clashed with security forces. Police fired tear gas, stun grenades and rubber bullets at the crowd of protesters. It comes after the parliament voted to push the February 25th election date to December, extending President Macky Sall's mandate term. A state-run oil company in Mexico suffered a leak, causing a fuel stream up to 15 meters and accumulation of gases in the atmosphere on Friday. The leak was blocked later, but no cause of the leak was reported. Over 2,000 people were evacuated. However, no victims were reported. A private passenger jet with 5 people on board crash-landed on a busy Florida highway and collided with a vehicle on the ground in a fiery accident that killed at least 2 people, according to authorities and new footage from the scene. The Bombardier Challenger 600 business jet, which took off from Ohio, was on approach to Naples Airport, where the pilot radioed that both the plane's turbofan engines had failed, the National Transportation Safety Board said in a statement. Iceland's volcanic eruption left a trail of damage to the region on Friday. Pipelines which supply hot water were also cut as lava hit the pipes. Schools, kindergartens, museums and other public institutions in the region were closed. About 15 million cubic meters of molten rock had flowed from the ground in the first 7 hours of the eruption, according to Icelandic Meteorological Office. However, the eruption, which began on Thursday, appears to have ended. Up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. A 4-man crew, including Turkey's first astronaut, returns to Earth after a 2-week visit to the International Space Station. The space mission, arranged entirely by a commercial expense by Texas-based startup Axiom Space. The spacecraft carrying the Axiom Mission 3 crew landed at sea near Florida and was then dragged to a recovery vessel where the team were assisted out of the capsule. Carnival 2024 officially began in Rio de Janeiro with the king of misrule receiving the key to the city and declaring the festivities open for all. Hundreds of revelers took to the streets with partygoers dressed up in bright costumes to celebrate the carnival. The Rio de Janeiro Carnival 2024 will run until February 12th. Elton John is downsizing and the superstar's former penthouse residence in Atlanta has been emptied for a series of auctions in New York. The items are expected to bring in an estimated of $10 million. The series of over 3 live auctions and 6 online auctions of over 950 items will begin on February 21st. A plane missing a tire lands successfully at a busy Brazil airport. The plane, which departed from Rio de Janeiro's airport with the destination to Sao Paulo's Congonhas, has got diverted after inboard and outboard left main wheels were unspotted. The landing was a safe one and the pilots drove the aircraft onto the runway flanked by emergency vehicles. Veteran designer Tadashi Shoji nodded to the natural world in his latest collection at New York Fashion Week, presenting an array of cocktail dresses and evening gowns. Many dresses bore leaf or floral embroidery adorned with large floral decoration. Nearly 50 brands, including Tommy Hilfiger and Brandon Maxwell, will be showcasing their collection during the New York Fashion Week. Fiji Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Professor Biman Prasad, who is in India for a week-long tour, becomes the first foreign leader to visit Ram Mandir in North Indian city of Ayodhya. DD India's Ramesh Ramachandran had an exclusive conversation with Biman Prasad, where he lauded Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his leadership.
Fiji's Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Biman Prasad has lauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership. In an exclusive interview with DD India's Ramesh Ramachandran, Biman Prasad said that India is the fastest growing nation in terms of economic growth.
Since Prime Minister Modi ji visited Fiji in 2014 and the subsequent holding of the India-Pacific Summit in Fiji, then the second one was in Jaipur and the third one was in Papua New Guinea. And I think India's global leadership was part of the group and globally, and India's progress, economic progress. The fast economic growth that we see, India is probably the leading country in terms of economic growth.
During his visit to India, Biman Prasad also visited newly built Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. Prasad led a high-level Fiji delegation to Ayodhya. Prasad is the first foreign dignitary who paid his obeisance at Ram Mandir. When
one talks about Ayodhya, it immediately invokes the great feeling, the recital of the epic Ramayana, where Lord Ram returns to Ayodhya. And Diwali is a national holiday in Fiji. So it does invoke a lot of yearning, emotion, and the feeling of connectivity and identity with India.
India and Fiji share close, friendly and long-standing relations with a strong element of development partnership. There are strong cultural links between the two countries, as 38% of Fiji's population is of Indian descent. Last year, Fiji conferred Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with its highest honor.
We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India Live, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live, 11th World Government Summit to be held in Dubai from 12 to 14 Feb. India to participate as guest of honor at the summit. It's a treat for book lovers. World Book Fair to be held in New Delhi with the theme Multilingual India, a Living Tradition. In a remarkable display of grit, Amit Panghal and national champion Sachin storm into the semi-finals of the 75th Strandja Memorial Tournament in Sofia.
Is telepathy real or fiction? Could it soon be a reality? Imagine controlling your world with your mind. Elon Musk's brain chip promises telepathy for real. But is it safe? Is it ethical? I connect the dots to get the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots on DD India. Is China's economy a ticking time bomb? China, once a growth powerhouse, is becoming a concern for global economy. I connect the dots to get the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti. Let's get to more updates. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is on a visit to Perth in Australia to attend the 7th Indian Ocean Conference. He will be joined by Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong, and Singapore's Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan at the inaugural session of the conference. The theme of the two-day conference is Towards a Stable and Sustainable Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean Conference is a flagship forum for countries in the Indian Ocean region, organized annually by India's Ministry of External Affairs in association with the India Foundation. Ahead of the conference, Minister Jaishankar also met with his Australian counterpart Penny Wong in Perth on Friday. Both the leaders had good exchange on comprehensive strategic partnership and convergence on matters related to the Indian Ocean. They also discussed the Indo-Pacific situation in West Asia and other regional and global topics. On the sidelines of the Indian Ocean Conference in Perth, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also called on Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The two leaders recognized the progress in the bilateral cooperation and resolved to continue deepening them. He also held a good conversation with his Singaporean counterpart Vivian Balakrishnan. The leaders noted the progress in our strategic partnership and exchanged views on regional and global issues. Dubai is primed to serve as the venue for the forthcoming 11th World Government Summit, scheduled from February 12th to 14th. The summit's overreaching theme, Shaping the Governments of the Future, underscores its forward-looking agenda. Notably, India, Turkey and Qatar have been designated as esteemed guests of honor for the 2024 edition. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to deliver a keynote address during the summit proceedings on February 14th. The 51st edition of the New Delhi World Book Fair will begin today, featuring over 2,000 stalls with books in multiple languages. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will inaugurate the week-long fair at Bharat Mandapam. The fair will also mark the inauguration of a national e-library where books can be accessed and downloaded for free. Besides books covering a wide variety of genres, Braille books will also be available free of cost for visually impaired children. The guest country for the book fair this year is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Theme of this year's fair is Multilingual India, a Living Tradition. The coveted international beauty pageant, Miss World, is making a return to India after nearly 3 decades. The 71st edition of Miss World contest is scheduled to be held in India from February 18 to March 9th. The event will kick off with the opening ceremony, and India welcomes the World Gala, hosted by the India Tourism Development Corporation in Delhi. The grand finale will be held at the Geo World Convention Center in Mumbai on March 9th and will be broadcast worldwide.
I would like to thank Julia Molly especially to believing that this could be held.
Up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines today from across India. Nearly 970 million voters are going to vote in the upcoming general elections in 2024. According to the Election Commission of India, nearly 970 million electors have registered across the country. The commission termed it as the world's largest electorate registration. It also said that a 6% increase has been seen in registered voters from 2019. The joint military exercise Sada Tanseek between Indian Army and Saudi Arabia concluded today at Mahajan Field Firing Range in the Indian state of Rajasthan. The exercise facilitated synergy in the conduct of the joint tactical operations and strengthened the interoperability between the two armed forces. The Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve in India's Assam have witnessed all-time high tourist footfall. According to the park authorities, nearly 180,000 visitors, including both foreign and domestic, have already visited the national park so far after it was opened in October last year. The river tourism of the park and new tourism areas like Biswanath and Bura Chapori are catching the attraction of the tourists. The Indian Parliament passes the bill to provide reservation to the other backward classes in the local body elections in India's Jammu and Kashmir. The bill is aimed at providing justice to the people from other backward classes of Jammu and Kashmir by providing them the reservation rights in local level elections. India has maintained its growth trajectory amid global political and economic turmoil. During an in-depth interaction with DD India about his new book, Why Bharat Matters, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that India is becoming self-reliant and has certain authenticity and cultural reaffirmation.
India has maintained its growth trajectory amid global political and economic turmoil. Since turning 75, India has been celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, a comprehensive framework to identify its successes and failures. The country's foreign policy has undergone many twists and turns, leading to subsequent changes in the image of Bharat. The decisive voice of India is heard across the world. In an exclusive interview to DD India, External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, said that the solution to the world's present-day problems lies in consensus.
You know, we've come through really a very testing 5 years, very big challenges, which we've handled with a great deal of self-confidence. The biggest challenge was COVID, but we also had the Article 370, both as a decision and managing its implications. We've had, I would say, in many ways, almost unprecedented challenge vis-à-vis China. And we had a global issue which is still continuing, like Ukraine. So if you look at how we have handled all of these, I would say in many ways that self-assurance is better captured by the word Bharat.
India is on the path of becoming the world's third largest economy. The External Affairs Minister said that India is becoming self-reliant and has a certain authenticity and cultural reaffirmation.
I think most people would agree that Bharat has a certain ring, a certain connotation. And it means, in a way, a certain authenticity, a certain cultural reaffirmation. I would say a degree of self-confidence, self-assurance. So it's a kind of like, look, we are coming into our own, we are who we have been in history over millennia.
Outlining the new world order, Jaishankar said India has played a crucial role, being president of the G20, and also talked about the inclusion of the African Union as a member.
To bridge the north-south divide and the east-west polarization, that also required a lot of self-assurance and a lot of skill and a certain, I would say, an Indian Bharatiya ability.
An inner force, yeah.
You know, almost I would say a kind of a cultural ability to get everybody around the table and create that kind of sarvasahmati, which actually, you know, we saw in the G20. And I think, I mean, it's just not me saying it. If you ask people in the world, I think most people were really very impressed, almost amazed by the fact that we were able to pull it off.
Jaishankar, in his book, Why Bharat Matters, has tried to elaborate a different strategy stemming from the Indian epics of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which according to him are relatable to India's policies. Rabindra Chavan's report, DD India.
World cocoa prices hit new records for the 9th straight day on Friday. Bad weather in West Africa is being blamed for damaging crop yields, which is pushing cocoa prices higher. Besides, diseases currently impacting cacao trees in top producing region, West Africa, are a lot worse than they have been in recent years, and that there isn't treatment other than cutting trees out and replanting. Meanwhile, traders continue to scramble for supplies, predicting ever wider deficits this season and with concerns growing for the next. The price surge is also expected to bite further into the pockets of chocolate consumers, as chocolate makers have mostly run down their stock of cheap beans. Chocolate major Hershey grapples with rising cocoa costs, leading to higher chocolate prices and potential impact on 2024 profit growth. A quick look at sports now. Jordan will lock horns with defending champion Qatar in the final of the AFC Asian Cup, which will take place at the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. Surprise package, Jordan finished third in their group and scrapped through to the knockout stage, where they suddenly elevated their game to beat heavyweights Iraq and South Korea. Qatar turned things around in the Asian Cup, scoring in every game en route to the final, including a thrilling 3-2 semi-final win over higher-ranked Iran. While Jordan will play with nothing to lose in their final, that is the first final, hosts Qatar are the defending champions after winning their maiden title in 2019. Commonwealth Games gold medalist Amit Panghal and national champion Sachin entered the semi-finals of the 75th Stranger Memorial Tournament in Sofia in Bulgaria. Amit continued his fine form to grab a 5-0 unanimous decision win over Aldarkishik Batugla of Mongolia in 51 kg category. Amit was so dominant in the bout that he won each round with a 5-0 verdict, en route making his way into the semi-finals on Saturday. Sachin was equally dominating against Kapanadze Georgi of Georgia in 57 kg category. The southpaw boxer took some time in finding his rhythm, but once settled, he looked like a force to reckon with. Sachin won the first round 4-1 and took the game heads-on in the second one, using his counter-attacking game to strike some effective left hooks. That's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.
Is telepathy real or fiction?